So, good afternoon, dear participants of the roundtable, dear audience on the YouTube live stream. I'd like to welcome everyone on behalf of the organizing committee of the International Student Conference, Breaking Down Barriers. My name is Sergey Kuzero, and I'm a member of this committee, of the organizing committee of the session Real Estate and Construction. Today I'll be hosting the roundtable. I would just like to take a moment to explain our audience the formats of the event. Since the online layout of today's event is somewhat limiting our direct communication abilities, a decision was made to organize the roundtable in a way more resembling the panel discussion. This way, it means that our honored speakers will proceed with their presentations one by one during the first hour and a half of the course of broadcasting. Followed by that, at the end of the last speaker's monologue, the questions and answer section will be activated and initiated. So it's exactly then when I will choose Michelena's most intriguing yet elaborate questions to each of our viewers on the YouTube. And so I would ask the audience to mention the speaker's name and surname in the brackets when they are writing a specific question in the comment section. So back to the track, with an eye on the general theme of this year's conference, it is digitalization. We're about to hold this roundtable with the representatives of the Russian and foreign expert communities in real estate and construction, which is supposed to touch upon the topics of PropTech and basically the way technologies influence real estate and construction industries. Well, the real estate market is considered to be rather conservative and clumsy, but it cannot ignore the changing world, obviously. To put it simply, PropTech or property technologies is when technology is used to solve property needs. By PropTech, we mean innovative solutions, intelligent strategies for all stages of property's life cycle. The PropTech is one smart part of the digital transformation of property industry. And we can see that the global volume of venture investment in PropTech is amounted to around $6 billion just in 2018, and it's rising year after year. You may not have heard about PropTech, but I assure you that anyone has somehow interacted with this phenomenon. That is going to affect you if you're already using different apps to search for your dream house, or just using smart home kits, online cameras for surveillance on your land plot, or just connecting your neighbors with these special networking applications. While at the same time, for real estate professionals, PropTech represents a huge variety of miscellaneous technological innovations, which are integrated in their spheres, from complex task management ecosystems in the construction side to building information modeling applications, organizing flexible office spaces, urban logistics, and design and engineering different urban development projects. Well, during this event, it's proposed to discuss the modernization of commercial and residential real estate, construction, and property management processes during technological changes in the world. Insofar as we disposed a wide panel of speakers from miscellaneous companies, either way unified by the industries of real estate and construction, the discussion will be performed from different angles and positions. By saying that, let me please present our first opening speaker, the representative of the general partner of our 2020's real estate and construction session. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet the CEO of the International Real Estate Consultancy Corporation, JLL Russia&CIS, Mr. Andrews Liljenstolpe. From his professional competence, background, the expert point of view, he will start his speech with an overview of the state of affairs in commercial real estate market in Russia and globally. And he will share his insight on what is exactly happening in the office, retail, and industrial property fields at the moment. So please, Andrews, you can start.
Thank you, Sergey. Let me start by saying thank you for letting me join. It's a pure pleasure, and I actually hope I will have the chance to explain to you actually why I am spending my life in real estate and why this is such a big passion for me. And I also would like to say that you were mentioning PropTech, and I would say that the ongoing mega trends as urbanization and digitalization is really affecting us. PropTech is one of those very, very important tools that's changing the industry, but generally the digitalization is changing real estate as we know it, and I hope we will have sort of a taste of that in 20 minutes that I will talk. So let's go to the first slide. So why do I work with real estate? I would like to start with this because it's a really, really important point. And I think that hopefully this is one of the reasons why, next slide, Margita. This is probably one of the main points here. Why do we work with real estate? So for me, real estate is something affects us all pretty much 80% or 90% of our time. This is something that we spend pretty much all our time in. If it's an apartment or a shopping center, an office, a school, elderly home, sports hall, etc., etc. This is something that is so important for us all because it really affects us. And as you know, this is something that have been changing dramatically over quite a limited amount of time. So you only look decades back, the quality of this low. Now we see dramatic changes to the positive. And the reason why I work with real estate is exactly this: the effect we can have on changing the way of how we use our time in our lives, the quality of our lives. So this is really, really important. And to take the ugly housing and the uncomfortable housing and make it safe and fun and beautiful, all these things to make sure that our time is spent in a proper way. Let's go to the second slide. So why am I then part of Jones Lang LaSalle JLL family? Well, it's also a very, very clear reason. The thing is, I'm coming from the construction and development company side. I used to work for IKEA. I used to work for a Finnish developer and construction investment company. And of course, this is a huge challenge and super fun to be able to build shopping centers, housing business centers. A consulting firm was actually that when you're working in my line of business, you have the opportunity to work with great clients in all the fields developing real estate. And by doing so, your impact on the market and the change is very big. So this is the whole point. And also when you work for a consultancy company, it's not okay just to be good. If you're a consultant, you have to be the best. And if you work for Jones Lang LaSalle, it's not enough to be the best. You have to be the best of the best. And that's why I joined JLL. And that's why I'm part of the JLL family. Let's take next slide, please. So who are JLL? Well, we are a global company. We have a little bit less than 100,000 colleagues in our family. We have a total global reach. We are from all corners of the world. And in Russia, we of course work with both Russia and CIS countries, but we have our offices in St. Petersburg and Moscow. We work in as investment management, strategic consulting, construction support, leasing services, etc., etc. And we work with all spheres: office, retail, warehouse, housing, supply chain, etc., etc. And what is really fun with our company is that we actually, the average age of our company is 27 years. And we have approximately 70% of our coworkers and colleagues are women. And this is very different from the rest of the world. And I guess the reason for that is we have a lot of talented women in Russia. But the most fun part of working in my line of business is actually that we have a lot of talent and brains. And the ambition we have in JLL is very much to shape the future of real estate for a better world. And I would say this is sort of the background of where I'm coming from and how I view my job and what we are doing. And I think all the panel participants are coming from to have the opportunity to shape the future of real estate for a better world. So let's go next slide. A discussion about what's actually happening. Please, Margarita. Because this slide is not very fun looking, but the point is that we are standing in front of a revolution, or should I call it an evolution? And why? Well, not only have we seen an exponential development of real estate market due to just basic facts that we have a enormous economic growth over the world, but even though we had several economical recessions during 2009, 15, and now again with the pandemic, we see a lot of mega trends that are really pushing our development forward. But just one step back. So the current recession that is ongoing and will continue during 2021 have, of course, affected our market heavily when it comes to a lowered interest, when it comes to investments. It stopped many projects around the world from developing because of uncertainties. But in reality, also happened was it was a release of enormous amounts of cheap money. Margarita, do you hear me now? It seems like I'm stopped. No, now it's working again. It released a lot of cheap money, and it means that, go back one slide, please, which meant that there's a huge interest starting up due to lowered interest rates. In a local market, the fact that the ruble became quite weak, which meant that a lot of investors actually started to look at some projects as a real bargain to buy. They saw opportunities to develop real estate due to the fact that the money became very cheap in the market, thanks to a local, very aggressive central bank working with the key rates, etc. And not only that, the economical fundamentals, on one hand, having a pandemic and a recession going on the other, having money available, and there's still a lot of hunger in the market, was then fueled also by something we started with, which was the mega trends, with new behaviors that actually were having a catalyst, the pandemic, to really start it. And I think this is really what's happening right now. And I often get the question, what is happening in real estate today? And I would say that actually real estate have really started changing dramatically during the last 10 years. And thanks to, and I'm saying this with the deepest of respect, thanks to the pandemic, actually, we will see a very dramatic change in all segments, with a little bit of reservation for hotel business, which is still not changing as dramatic as the rest. But the mega trends of digitalization, urbanization, circular economy, and shared economy are all of them really fueling a change very fast. So for next slide, finally, we will see this change that has been coming, which we have seen in many parts of the world. Next slide, Margareta. So there will be a strategic restructuring of the portfolios of all asset classes. And in fact, in reality, what is happening is that if you do not change today, you will die. And that, of course, we've seen, for instance, in the markets of shopping centers in US, where the digitalization and the effects of digitalization in e-commerce have driven the market to change. And those shopping centers that has not been able to change or have some weakness, they have died. And we, for almost a decade, have been talking about the death of shopping centers in the main markets like US, also in Europe. And these things are now changing fast. So let's go next. At the new approach for the real estate world, it's very much so that you're able to actually to find a customer or the persons, all developers, all consultants, all construction companies have to have a new approach to how we develop real estate. And what is that? Of course, we have to start by looking at the client rather than the investor. When I mean the client, I'm talking about people. I'm talking about the person that we develop for need to be in focus, and we need to look at comfort, the people in center, and the new technical capabilities, such as digitalization, such as drones, such as cars, shared cars, etc., etc. All of these things makes that we can develop real estate and to support a higher life quality. And there's a lot of good example of this for sure. Let's go for next slide. What we mean by saying this? If we start with retail, of course, we all know that we have a lot of shopping centers in Russia and all over the world, as I mentioned before, that have been looking the same for the last 10, 15 years. You have a number of fashion tenants, you have some big hypermarket, you have a couple of services, and that's it. Maybe if you're lucky, there's a cinema there as well. But of course, this is not the future of the shopping center or the retail market. Not even so that a couple of years ago, we started to introduce new type of tenants and supporting certain parts of the tenant structures. We started to implement more restaurants, more entertainment, more fun in the shopping centers. And that was the first step, but absolutely not enough. So when we're talking about retail, we're now talking about the second generation of regeneration. The first was to just also to entertain people, while the second regeneration is where you're starting to look at more mixing the asset classes within a shopping center. I'm not talking about the multi-use project where you have housing, hotel, shopping center. That's one type. But we're talking about shopping centers now, regeneration to number 2, where you're mixing, where you take all the retail boxes, you will reuse them for partially storage to support the supply chain development that is going extremely fast right now. And you will use retail stores as part of retail supply chain for pickup points. And actually, retail become much more of a supply chain issue than just a retail store. So this is a mega change in the retail world. But also, when I will start talking about office, you will understand also that the need of low office space is increasing as well due to comfortability and for pricing. So retail, no, one step back. So retail, in this case, will actually be a totally different thinking. And what we're doing as consultants now is actually advising the owners to look into the portfolio. And only those shopping centers standing on the absolute prime place like Galleria in St. Petersburg or Metropolis Europejski in Moscow, those will now not need to change as fast. But as soon as you're a second tier or a third tier shopping mall, then you will change or die. Local shopping centers will have their function with services and basic shopping, but still retailers need to think that they're part of supply chain rather than they're a unique asset class. And this is really, really important. Next slide, please. So remember this, retail is part of supply chain. This is a key. Let's go to offices. Offices, in many cases, have been seen that something you're part of a big, it's more or less like the modern factory. You go, you're a part of something huge. You're not unique, you're nothing special. Forget about this. This is something that we are changing now. And it's also coming with the mega trends of urbanization, life quality, sustainability, digitalization. And what we're looking at now is making the office space much more personal, making it much more comfortable, making it a higher life quality. And how do we do this? We in JLL, we have a service called Workplace Strategy that we offer, which means that we go into major companies and we are consulting them on how to build an office to be more inspirational, creative, fun, comfortable, and healthy. And part of this is, of course, to make sure that your workforce, your family have opportunity to work flexible from home. And you recognize this from the pandemic, which have pushed this working from home issue, but also that you can mix your work time locally in your home, locally in a flex office close to your home, or centrally in something we call a hub office, which is an office downtown, for instance, in Moscow, which have the highest quality, which is super inspirational and really cool. And this means that what we are doing now is we are developing a lot of hub and club offices, which means that, for instance, Sberbank or Procter & Gamble, for instance, they will have a central office, small one, where the management team is and where you are with the central meetings and you're inspirational for people. But if you live in Khimki, you need a local flex office, an office where you can go 1-2 days a week to spend time, because you don't have time in traffic. At the same time, maybe 1 day a week you work from home. And this flexibility in workspace makes the office market very, very interesting for today, especially since there's almost 2 million square meters coming up in Moscow as we speak. So of course, the issue we have is that those 2 million square meters in many cases are living a little bit in the old world with some exceptions. For instance, flex and co-working companies like WeWork and the Business Club, etc. But again, the office market is moving towards cool and fun and personal and life quality. And this is what's so interesting today. Let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about what actually is the most exciting asset class of today, if you ask me, which is warehousing. And why? Because warehousing of today is the ultimate big change when it comes to the trend. absolute explosion in the development of warehousing. And the slide you see in front of you are showing the current warehousing in the market. And you just see a little more pic of it. Actually, 95% of all warehouses around Moscow are outside of the MCAD. This is not how it will be for the future. For the future, since it's all about supply chain today, everything from production, which is going more and more local, as you all understand and know, to distribution centers, which is going closer to the cities to serve several smaller and urban logistic located warehouses. So the supply chain is what's really developing fast now. And part of the supply chain is retail stores. If it's street retail stores, if it's shopping centers, they're all part of the supply chain. And when I'm talking about supply chain, added for the company, that's the most convenient and fastest way for the client to get the product from point A to point B. That's supply chain, and that's what it's all about. But it's not that simple. Supply chain also have support from government, because today there's a huge lack of roads, storages. We have a huge problem with queues, for instance, in Moscow, but also in New York, also in London, also in Stockholm. We also have no flying zones for drones that have to deliver food and products to the clients. So there's a huge amount of regulation, huge amount of development that needs to be done from a government point of view. So this is a very interesting segment. And here we see, if I'm looking at my investment market segment development, I would say that for when we're looking at next year's supply, when it comes to investments, we are looking at 60% of interest going to segment. And what's new, which we call urban logistics, which is a multi-level storage located as close as possible to the clients. So this is extremely interesting for sure. But I'd also like to talk about something also very interesting, which we in Russia sometimes forget, which is called the alternative asset classes. Such things as data centers, hospitals, student housing, which is something very close to your hearts, co-living, power plants, especially wind and water power plants, and pensioners' home, elderly living. And just to remind you that data center development in Russia is a very interesting issue due to the low cost of electricity and the cold weather in Russia. And by the way, Amazon is holding almost 60% of this market in US and is one of the big drivers of their fortune and their profits. And these asset classes we shall get. They're often variable, even though they are implementing that you need to work with government structures. But alternative asset classes are also very, very important. Let me then go over to next slide. So I was talking about life quality and about keeping people in the focus. And of course, especially in our country, in Russia, health and the people's living and quality and comfort is something we need to take seriously and really to do in a proper way. Therefore, something that is already been in the market for a couple of years, but becoming more and more relevant is sustainability. And we in JLL have been working this for years. And personally, I've been developing shopping centers with LEED certifications for almost a decade. And why do we do this? Well, we believe that sustainability, where you're making sure that you by using less electricity and power, you're making sure that products that you're using are safe for people. Doing this, we actually have a less environmental footprint, which means that from a long-term perspective, we are supporting our local community in our country to make sure that we are having a bright future. This actually, with the help of government subsidies, makes it also very profitable because you actually save money by not using as much electricity and other means for running a shopping center or business center. But not only that, today we are working with sustainability certification as LEED and BREEAM, a US version and an English version. But we also have something new, which is called WELL certification, and where you actually take the next step, which I was talking about, which is life quality. So if you look at AFI Development, for instance, they are now doing 2 business centers on Belaruska Square. And one of the things they're doing is WELL certification. That's where basic sustainability, we're looking at the comfort of people to create life quality for the co-workers in the building, but also for your community. And this is something I believe very strongly is, and is very, very important for our continued development. So I think all of these things together, connected to those mega trends that we can never forget about, and that Sergey started with, which digitalization is a big part of, which is pushing forward everything from supply chain development to PropTech, which is a very, very important part in the part I just mentioned, sustainability. All of those things are exponentially changing the real estate market of today. So what we have seen for the last 100 years is a very slow development of how an asset class should look like. And I assure you that in 25 years, the way you were thinking about an office today is very dramatically changed from what you see at the office tomorrow. Let's go for next slide. So I would like again just to conclude by the fact that JLL, we are really committed to shaping the future of real estate for a better world, because we know and we believe that by doing our job in a proper way and convincing the clients and the people of doing those things I mentioned, to work with mega trends with them but not against them, being smart and putting people in the focus, we can achieve these ambitions. And that is sort of how we will take the next step to create this better world.
Yeah, thank you, Anders.
Thank you so much.
It was a very nice presentation. I'm not saying that because you're my boss, but also because it was really comprehensive and holistic introduction to the state of commercial real estate and to the way JLL shapes the future of real estate. Now let me please introduce our next speaker. This is the Chief Commercial Officer, the Vice President of the Sales and Marketing Department of one of the leading Russian construction development firms, KORTROS Group of Companies. Please meet Philippe Tretyakov. He will broaden our horizons in the understanding of how smart city standards are being applied by the company KORTROS on the example of their massive mixed-use urban development project and how technologies are being used to create comfortable living environment. So please, Philippe, you can start.
Добрый день всем. Я буду делать мою презентацию на русском языке. Надеюсь, что перевод.
Good day to all. I will speak in Russian. I hope the translation will be catching up and you'll be able to understand everything. So I present the KORTROS company, as Sergey mentioned already. This is the federal developer. So our land bank is one of the largest in the country. We are doing construction in 4 regions, mostly in Moscow, St. Petersburg, Perm, and Moscow region. Our biggest land asset is Yekaterinburg in the Urals, which at the present time, our land bank has 10 million square meters. I hope we'll have a presentation on the screens now. Unfortunately, I can't see it yet. Here it is. Yes, this is a picture of one of the portions of our area. At present, the academic portion is in terms of what's been built, 1,350,000 square meters of housing, just housing alone has been built. That's about 4 schools. The 5th school is going to be commissioned next year, and 11 preschool educational establishments. The project itself is quite unique, and it would be fair to say it's no single developer in the country was able to build so much housing in one place in this country, which would be provided with as much infrastructure as is the case in this instance. In most cases, what happens, developers come up against serious challenges as far as social infrastructure. So they have to allow in their models for those kinds of extra challenges, and they're not always able to meet those challenges on their own resources. So in the academic area, we were building kindergartens together with the government, which is an example of government public-private partnership, and all the roads are being built jointly too, which enabled us to keep the good pace of construction. And the main thing, as we go to the next slide, this is the format of cooperation, which which makes it possible to increase the pace of house residential construction up to 100 million tons a year in Russia. So the 1,350,000 that I mentioned, they are being carried out in the course of 10 years. So we're going to build much more in the next 10 years. When this area academic construction is completed, the population is expected to reach 550,000 people. So in terms of population, it will be comparable to the town of Nizhny Tagil, which is the second largest city in the Sverdlov region in the Urals. Something else I wanted to talk to you. That's our experience. One big area, one developer, one management company. So for us, it made it possible for us to create a good proving ground for the use of smart technologies. So construction development, that's probably one of the most inert industries in the economy, which to say is quite conservative, but the exposition of a product, as you know, it takes a long time. The cycle of construction takes up to 2-3 years. So the cycle of sales might take even longer. So after the project has been drafted, which takes at least a year. So since the moment of preparation of project, and it takes about 4 years before the buyer actually gets a chance to use the product. Of course, during this time, the world is bound to change. Many changes are bound to occur. So as a result of great importance to the competing developers is the ability to create some product advantages by the time when it's no longer possible to make any changes in design, like the layout of apartments is already established, and so at this point we can use smart technologies. So at the academic area, it's already well-established area, you may say, and so we have residents that are living for 10 years. About 30% of the buyers in that area are the residents of this area that are buying new apartments in the same district, in the same area. What makes it possible is the use of a great number of tools of technology, among others, the management of this established environment. Also, and I want to go over quickly. I understand my time is limited, but I want to talk to you about those smart technologies that we actually utilize. Let's go over the slides quickly, and as we go along, I will comment on them. Here we have pictures that show the our main achievements as of today. So the smart technologies enable us to reduce the unit consumption of resources done by 30% compared to the average indicators in Yekaterinburg, which of course impacts makes it possible to improve the utility payments. So the efficiency of the use of the smart technologies across all the district communications and utilities. And also what makes this area academically famous for, there are no crimes there, because there's a very good system of CCTV cameras. The CCTV cameras on all houses, on lifts, practically every square meter can be easily monitored from hundreds and hundreds of CCTV cameras. There are operators on duty. There are groups that can quickly respond to any unlawful behavior. So this place has a reputation for being a very peaceful area. And those CCTV cameras are very accessible. So you can actually use your mobile phone to get data and information about the situation in your building, in your entryways. And as I mentioned already, that the local residents are quite socially active. There are quite a lot of public events taking place with the participation of residents. For the most part, residents of this area are young families with children. For this reason, schools tend to be overflowing. The schools that currently exist are not able to accommodate all the children. So it's rather special situation where just about every family has children, and so a lot of workload for schools. This map shows the dynamics of the construction, which is increasing all the time. Come next year, we expect to increase 40% in our dynamics. You see, even today, you can see that even in this area, Akademический alone, about 1/5 of the construction is being done by other market participants from Ekaterinburg. Speaking about Ekaterinburg overall, about 40% are new construction developments. 10 years ago, as we entered into this swamp, empty field, you might say, we were able to start from scratch. And in the course of 10 years, we've been able to build a full-fledged administrative district, involving also our partners, our competitors also joined in this drive. So those are numbers of population. As we describe the portrait of resident, we are aware that one of the more socially active strata of the population are young families that are working. They have money, so they grow, they take out mortgages, they buy more apartments, and the main way of communication are mobile, the internet. So we created the application so residents can use it to manage the environment. They are getting all the information about their apartments online, and also they're quite active in communicating with each other, creating demand for the government and being active participants in developing the city, the urban environment. So overall, the result of this is very dynamic. Next slide. As I mentioned, the construction is accompanied by quite a massive building of infrastructure. So I'd like to show you next slide, so to get enough time to speak about smart technologies. This is transportation infrastructure, which has been developing quite dynamically too in this district. Now, under expert assessment, now we have high-speed streetcar line, and quite soon, one of our biggest pains was accessibility by transport. There'll be no metro stations yet, but we'll have a good streetcars, and very likely we'll have a high-speed commuter trains by 2023 for the students' games. Also, by the time of the students' games, 2023, we're building the Judo Palace, and there's a special park for our recreation. So the judo wrestling palace is being built there. Next slide. This is one of the main points that enable us to do it all, thanks to very close cooperation with the authorities, local authorities, and establishing quite also by addressing public issues. Affordable housing that was talked so much about, we are actually implementing in St. Petersburg, where we're expecting to increase by 40% the volume of construction by 2023, increase by 40% in construction volumes. Also, we have a standard, which is referred to as a smart city. So we've made quite a big advances on this front too. Next slide actually will show how it's being carried out. At present, we have this format I should think that this presentation will be available, so you'll be able to study it more at leisure, in more detail. So here we have interaction between 4 participants of this format of a smart city format. So there's a request and demand from the residents that we address digitally, also interaction with authorities, also certain properties, private business, which is developing very rapidly in this area, and on the part of the developer, also a certain format of interaction of certain requirements as far as the implementation of this project, such as the control of payment of bills, automatic reading of meters, personal control, account records on consumption and saving of resources. Next, we have, as of today, we have installed, it was a special project. You understand that affordable housing is not a business or premium class housing, but we have set up the whole ecosystem, which includes systems house, which regulates protection against leakages, against smoke, the movement meters, all those data available on mobile phone and can be controlled by residents. We have several effective houses where we use technology where you can do without heating, but only running electrical power. It's a special house with regulation of temperature due to warm floors, and so that the owner can actually establish their own or build their own programs of saving power resources. For instance, cheaper rates for warming the floor or heating the floor during the night. And so in our program of development at present, we also have installed some video sensors, and we have apartment by apartment system of heating control. So creating this urban environment in all 3 cycles of smart city, we can move from smart apartments, from smart house to the smart city. This spells out what we put in place as of today: lighting in the courtyards, alarms, automated systems, monitoring, automatic monitoring of the state of the building, and also the level of the city, smart city, the public safety system, automated servicing, and internet resources for residents. Next slide. That's a more detailed description of how 4-tier system of energy saving system actually operates. If you're interested, you can look it up later in the presentation. And also we have fully automated online system of housing management. So we've set up very convenient to use service. More details. So next slide provides more details as far as the system of safety and digital platform for interacting with residents. So I believe it's a fairly detailed presentation. I don't want to cover all the points of it now. So I think I made the main points. Creating the technology of the smart management of residential environment that enables one to produce quite serious competitive advantages at the stage when the product has been already underway and being implemented on large scale too, because every year we sell about 130,000 square meters, which is more than 3,000 apartments. That's what we sell in academic area. So one of the components of the success actually is the use of all the smart technology that I spoke of. And we're not stopping at this. We're monitoring the development, the further development of the market, the technologies, the products. It's clear that, as I said, with our fairly inert, conservative industry, it's been intensified very much. It's been actually activated very much by the pandemic conditions, which made it possible to look very differently at the use, at the potential of digital technologies. Because we've been using digital technologies in all kinds of ways: taxi, deliveries, everything you could think of. We use digital technology. Unfortunately, those technologies had not been as much developed within construction business, within real estate market. And one should think that this kind of development of digital technology will be very rapid now after the pandemic. And at a time when our construction projects were suspended and our sales were halted, we continued on the day when our offices were closed. We actually, which was a different tactic, and we felt that if people were sitting at home anyway, that meant they had more time to make choices. So we made more offers. We came out with fairly massive streams on YouTube, online, to describe our projects, to describe the dynamics of construction, to showcase our finished apartments. So lots of activities. So this year, by early October, our Moscow region met the sales targets, and by end October, I should think that all the sales targets will be met by end of October. So I was quite glad to talk to you briefly about our projects, about developments, what we're able to carry out. We would be quite interested we have a program for apprenticeship. So this.
Okay, thank you, Philippe. It was
thank you to the organizers, thank you to the colleagues.
Very impressive presentation to see such a hands-on approach on the way technologies are used to improve people's daily lives and ultimately change the perception of real estate as a product. So our next speaker, I'd like to introduce Mr. Karsten Richter, who is the CEO of the Russian branch of Strabag, one of the biggest European construction companies headquartered in Austria. Mr. Richter is our honored speaker for the second year in a row. This is especially noteworthy, and we really appreciate it. So today, Mr. Richter will tell us how Strabag sees the way real estate is evolving and what intelligent solutions are being used in their routine as one of the biggest construction companies in Europe, as well as in the world. Please, you can start, Mr. Richter.
Thank you very much, participants. Good morning or good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to join this conference. And gentlemen, my colleagues have already shown us the mega trends in real estate, and we share at Strabag fully what you have said, and it's going to be a massive change in the approach of urbanization, developing, and all these new demands. So in line, not to bore you young students, so we are concentrating in our presentation. We want to talk about a bit more the construction, the demands. We have heard what the demands will be. So, and we as a construction company, we have to adopt and arrange to be ready and to make up and keep up the demand. So my presentation is going to talk about the digitalization in the construction, in the execution of the projects which are forthcoming. So, and I will share the presentation with my colleagues, Mr. Schönborn and Mr. Klingelhofer. Digitalization is now reaching construction. You have said already that construction industry is traditionally a bit back to the general trends in industrialization, but now digitalization has reached, and we are very certain that company-wise thinking, it is going to be a matter of either you are keeping up with development in digitalization or you are out. In 5 years' time, there will be going to be a massive rescheduling of which companies are going to be continuing business or they are out. So we think we are Strabag, we are up to the present development in terms of digitalization, and we have a group of 1,000 engineers working in developing the digitalization in construction terms. So we are really paying a lot of attention to this, whereas we are also working in the old traditional way. So we are in the transition, you know, from traditional construction work to the construction works and the demands in time of digitalization. Previously, construction was more or less, every project was a unique project. There was no standardization. This digitalization is going to change this. We are going to have the issue now of more or less industrialization of the project, meaning standardization. We will see that we will talk about the configuration of apartments, of houses. Customers will be able to define what they want, but this is only will be possible in terms of when we give certain standards, and like people are making the configuration for their car, we could see that clients which want to have an apartment, there will be a configurator and they can configure what they want, and then everything is to the demand and very easy. It is going to increase the speed, everything is maintained, the data is available. So it will give us the opportunity from the design. People will be involved in the design of what they want, and then we have the construction, we have the maintenance, we have the redesign in the terms of the lifetime of a project, facility management. Everything is going to be much easier, very much more efficient, very that means cheaper at the end of the day. So there's going to be, it is a revolution ongoing in construction. We are Strabag, as you have said, we are one of the leading companies, construction companies in Europe. Our core business is still construction. And in construction, we are focusing on infrastructure. 50% of our turnover is in infrastructure, 50% is in building, residential, offices, industrial building. But we are also changing. We are a 180 years old company. So we are changing from construction now. We are coming into development. We are coming into design. We are still constructing. We are doing facility management. So the whole life chain of a project, it is what our business is presently. Now I would like to ask my colleague Harjo Klingelhofer and Patrick Schönbold to lead us or to go through our presentation, please.
Hello and welcome from my side as well. In the next few minutes, I would like to present you some of our main focus, digitalization and also change management. And before we get started with our main topic, the building information modeling and other PropTech and ConTech solutions, I would like to give you some insights about the currently pandemic situation the construction sector needs to face as well. I have two headlines from the newsroom, how COVID-19 impacts our daily business. The first question I would like to answer is how the pandemic pushed digital transformation. Here you can read it, that the resilient commercial models will get more and more important. This is also called the increase of collaboration, that partners have to collaborate more and more effectively and to get the best from the outcome. How they can do this, it's for example, to use digital advisors, digital software tools and so on, to improve, for example, the resilient commercial models, and it will also be a solution to strengthen our business models as well. So therefore, the impact of digital transformation got really a big push during the pandemic, and it rises abruptly. Therefore, our currently learnings from the pandemic, COVID-19, is first advantage from our side is that we had already decentralized warehouses, staff and materials. So we had a lot of regional supply chains and warehousing. Therefore, it was really good in a stable growth during the last weeks and months. But due to this point, on the other side, we have also the client's view, which is at the moment a really critical review because of the development and future projects in the future. Because for example, building construction has to be under a review if they have really a big impact to invest for some building construction like that. Another point is the overall problem that that we have to force changes is also the whole supply chain, and we have to figure out where we have to go and what will happen next. Therefore, we have to bring a more proactive risk management, for example, to get more and more risk management during our projects is getting more and more important. But now, from pandemic side to the last decades, what happened on the construction side? What really changed? I will give you some examples, some pictures on the left side. We can call it. It's also addressed in the industry 1.0, and we are currently running to the industry 3.0 or 4.0. What really changed here on the two pictures? On the left side, you're using more and more paper plans on construction site, and our big advantage, or where we have to push, is that we get the mindset of our site managers to get or to support them with digital devices, for example, with using tablets on construction site to get better collaboration, to get more transparency on the projects. Where are the risks? Where do I have to communicate? Where's my delivery, and so on. And it's one point is the mindset of the people, but the other side, what really changed is the machinery. For example, the site fleet management. On the left side, it's really an older picture of a compression machine. On the right side, you see the cockpit. It's really changed abruptly. You have on the left side kind of a tablet where you see your progress and what compression is done and what you have to do. And the driver gets real-time information about the construction site and knows what do he need left to do. But let's go a step further. I think autonomous driving is everything present, and also some machineries are trying to test autonomous driving, and I think it's also in the near future that we have also this one in construction site. These are the reasons to keep continuing. It's, I think, at one side an opportunity, but also on the other side a challenge for the journey of the transformation. And I will show it you on 3 tables what will and has changed within the years. The first table shows you the real gross value. The orange line symbolizes the construction site, and you can see it's really stable. It's kind of a stable growth that we have in construction, and compared to manufacturing and to the average total economy, it's really below, and you have a big gap there. So we have to face this issue and face the problems and need to be more and more cost efficient. Another table symbolizes the rankings of the digitalization transform process. And here the run of the red lanterns goes to construction. So in the last years, the topic has to be faced in the corporates and other companies that we have to digitalize and have digital transformation within our processes each step to get a higher ranking in the next years. And also an overall problem is, for example, the lack of skilled workforce or the so-called war for talents. Here are some figures that 1/3 of the labor population is older than 50 years. And in the next years, they have to be more and more repositioning of recruitment. And the next age of employees will be digital native. So digital natives want to work with digital advices and devices. And this is also one point the construction sector has to face and have to put on their agenda to get competitive to the other phases. The last table shows us the comparison between the usage of building information modeling and without building information modeling. And you see different gaps and also safety and reduction of costs, for example, for CapEx and OpEx during the life cycle of the construction, started with the design and ended with the dismantle phase. So it's really a big chance to use digital models during the life cycle, and it's also good for our productivity and to get more efficient in the future. This insights underlines the change we have to address, and we are currently recognized within our corporate and addressed it also to our external stakeholders as well. And yeah, it's, I think, a nice slogan. The future of tomorrow is another one on site. So here is a bigger picture of the future of construction and emerging technologies. It's a big picture that not only digital transformation is on the agenda, also innovative materials, for example, the prefabrication and modular construction or the 3D printing processes is also really relevant for the future in the construction industry. And we have to follow this process and also have to address it within our employees and especially for our site workers. So summarized, it's not a question of why we need new technology and why we have to develop ourselves. It's more the question about when it will happen. So I think it will be sooner than later. And here we have to summarize the digitalization effects for productivity in a nutshell. And you see that digital platforms will be the next standard for procurement, but also for collaboration. The site logistics will optimize, and also the supply chain companies as well. Also a big topic is the standardization processes. Mr. Richter already addressed, and for example, also in electronic tendering. The new normal will be drones and robotics on site, will be the next building future, and also more and more disruption technologies will be on site and keeps up the productivity. One of our key figures is also lessons learned. It's called after the project is finalized, is before the next project. Frankly said, it's about that we have to keep learning. It's also always a learning process. What technology is necessary for our site management and what can we delete it? And building information modeling will become the next standard in the construction phase. So now I highlighted a lot of aspects of digitalization, but I think it's only one side of the coin. The other side, I think it's the more important side is the people and the change of mind of our working process on site. So we have to address all these mentioned topics to our site workers and site managers to lead it to a cultural change. And Mr. Klingelhofer will continue with this really special topic.
Yeah, thanks a lot. But first, this question to Sergey. Do we have 4 more minutes or are we running out of time?
Yeah, for sure. We have 4 more minutes. Yeah, obviously.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot. So it's Heiko Klingelhofer, based in Munich. So greetings from Bavaria, Germany. I just will pick only few slides from my presentation in the next 5 minutes. Patrick, if you go to the next. It's clear you can define in a company everything, and you can make a good strategy and write the right papers, but at least there is a nice sentence from Mr. Drucker. Perhaps you already heard about him. He was, I think, a big management guru based in US. And he made a very, very good statement: culture eats strategy for breakfast. Yeah. So if your company is not ready, you can write down everything you want, but you will not execute it. Yeah, because it's gone. It's gone in the first management meeting. So next slide. So if we talk about building information modeling, it's technology for sure. Yeah, you have to talk about software and special devices and mobile units and a lot of investments in software, but that's not all, and that's not enough. So at least we talk also about contracts, yeah, contracts with your clients, because if you want to work really in BIM technology and with the schema which is behind BIM, you need other contracts. You need transparency, you need platforms, you need cloud-based exchange and collaboration and so on. And last but not least, you also have to educate your people, your team, that they can follow that. And I will jump, Patrick, if you go to the slide for contracts. We cannot show everything now. Contracts is slide 34. Correct. Contracts is, oh, if you go to 34. Yeah, thanks. So. Next slide. Contracts is, next slide. Contracts is very important. No, one slide back, please. We made one really major project, handed over that project end of last year. It's from Axel Springer. You might have heard that company. It's a huge media group based in Berlin. In former times, they produced newspapers, yeah, papers like the famous Bild Zeitung in Germany or the Welt Zeitung. But they also transferred to really a digital company. Yeah? They acquired a lot of startups. They made a complete change in the whole company. And they decided, okay, we also have to show that in our new headquarters. Yeah, so Strabag Zyplin, we just offered for that contract. And it was really a new contract because we started in a very early stage, not in the design phase. We already started before. Yeah, and that's from our point of view also the new, say, the new world. If you want to really live in building information modeling, which means starting in a very, very early stage with a digital twin, you have to involve the construction company also in an earlier stage, because we know how to build, and perhaps the designer knows how to design, but is not able to design it in a way that you can also build this project. So what we did, if you go to the next slide, please. It's another contract form, which means you define at the very beginning, after let's say a beauty contest and pre-qualification process, you define together with your client a GMP price, which means that's a more or less standardized maximum price. And after the start of the project, you start with open books. So every decision, every negotiation, every contract, every claim, everything is negotiated together. So there is a contractor on the table, the client on the table, and, for example, the subcontractor. And at least you share your gain and your pain together. Yeah? That means you have a complete other team setup and complete other contract, but that's important because then you really can use all the things which are behind building information modeling, because you collaborate with a very transparent level, and you can define together what's going on in that project. Okay, so then let's please switch to slides 37. So technology is one thing, the second thing is another contract, and third, very important, people. Please, next slide. If you change that way how to work on a construction site, yeah, you need at least a new behavior, you need other roles, and you have to lead your team how to work in the future. And that's also one part we invest a lot. If you go to the next slide. you have completely new roles. Yeah, so somebody has to coordinate all these digital data, these BIM models. So we need BIM coordinators, BIM managers. They have to manage the contract and the whole subcontracting area and all the let's say the communication with the client or with the authorities. We have BIM experts who can also lead the management, how to work with that. We need 3D modelers, draftsmen who also have to handle with BIM models. You already talked about drones in one of your presentations before. You need pilots and also IT guys who can interpret this data or these photos, GIS managers, and so on and so on. So it's a lot of investment if you want to start with BIM. But from our side, and already Mr. Richter mentioned it at the very beginning, it's clear, yeah, it's our future. It's also the future for all of our staff. We have to invest a lot, but for sure we can gain a lot if we go that way in the direction of digitalization. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so thank you, dear colleagues, for sharing your view on the technologies and how they change the real estate and how Strabag actually implements them in the construction processes. Now I'd like to give a word to our penultimate speaker. This is Vitaly Berezka. Vitaly is the head of the Russian office of PlanRadar, the Austrian company leading in the development and implementation of smart solutions in the sector of construction. Vitaly will narrate about the way modern technologies and ecosystems are utilized in buildings operation and how they organize the software that helps construction companies to optimize the expenditures. Please, Vitaly, you can begin.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, viewers of the conference. It's a very interesting topic today being discussed already, and it's very excited to continue as already many things has been discussed, and I will continue and follow up a little bit more in details what are the modern technologies in the construction process. It will be logically continue what my colleagues from Strabag started. So basically, a few words about myself. I work for a startup company. We're a PropTech company. So we are the ones who aim to change the way how the construction is done. So we are the ones who want to disrupt the normal way of doing things on the construction side. So who we are? Just a second. So the content of my presentations has three parts. So one, I give you a brief overview about the real estate in Russia. Maybe some European colleagues, viewers of the conference will be interesting to see some brief outlook. So also I tell you about some slides about our solution, what we do, and give you a few examples of the modern technology and how it's being applied, the use cases, but some of them will be really on the age of the science and the future, and some of them, like our software solution, will be shown in how we can use it on a daily basis. So what is PlanRadar? What we did, we developed an app. This is an app for construction industry, for engineers, for the quality assurance people, for workers, for the foremen. So it's very easy, simple to use. You just upload on any smartphone or mobile phone or desktop version. You can easily upload the blueprints, the plans. Normally on the construction side, using the blueprints. So former times you have to use the paper version. Now you should not. You just upload your blueprints and walk into the project and see and track all the changes, all the problems, all the defects, all the tasks. It's a kind of combination of the task management and the communication platform, and also documentation tool for all the participants of this project, and it's giving enormous efficiency. I will show you all later on. So we just started, like we're a very fresh company. It's like only 7 years on the market. We are European company. We're based in Vienna, Austria. So we've been funded by Austrian government, by venture capitals, and so this year in March, prior to a few weeks or before the pandemic started seriously, we have risen 30 million euros as Series A funding, which brought us to another level of expansion, and that's why we opened 7 new offices, one of them in Moscow, this office is I'm ahead of. So this means to continue this huge trend of PropTech and ConTech transformation of the real estate and construction, showing how the investments is flowing into it. And believe me, this will be, and I fully agree with my previous speakers showing, this will be a game changing in the upcoming decades. And just remind me, I was 7 years ago, I graduated from University of Minnesota in the United States and from the MBA program. And I was a fresh graduate, and I came back to Russia and to Moscow. And I was looking for the, like business opportunities, because I'm sure few of you also graduate soon, and you'll be also looking for the opportunities. And at that time, I got an offer from an unknown totally company, which name was Uber. And I was looking at this, and I don't even understand what the guys will plan to do. But look, in 10 years, it was changing all the way how we using the transportation industry. And this is the point at the moment for the construction and property that it's happening now. It's all this PropTech solution, ConTech solution will be changing seriously the industry. So I have a question for you. Look, we have fast food, we have fast fashion, we have fast cars, we have fast money transfer, we have fast internet connection, we have fast messages, fast entertainment. But would you say, if you ask, the construction process became faster in the last 15 years? Yes or no? So I will, this is a question for the audience, and maybe you will think about this, and at the end of my presentation, I will give you not an answer, but just an outlook on this problem. Just very briefly, so once again, Russia is the largest country in the world. We live like almost 150 million people, and we're like the 6th largest economy in the world. We build a lot. Construction in Russia is like 6% of GDP, and involve around 9% of the population. By meaning the construction, it's only the construction itself, not like real estate management and all the supportive functions. So last year before, we built 32 million square meters with the value of 120 billion euro. So we're building a lot, and this is a huge industry in Russia. So huge industry in Russia having a huge problems as well. Then not only in Russia, but as in other countries in the world. So the real estate, if you look at what is being built out of this 132 million square meters, so the majority, 70%, is being built in residential property. So the construction volume of the houses, multi-flat houses, is growing steadily over the year. So who are these people? Real estate developers. So we have one colleague who has been presenting his company. So basically, it's a special development. Real estate development is a special process of professional activity associated with the quantitative transformation of real estate and providing an increase in value. So those people, developers, we have to coordinate enormous, well, not enormous, but a lot of other subcontractor partners to make the things happen, and to finally the building will be functionally constructed, occupied, and people will like it. So it's a serious task to do. It's not only about the construction, it's way more things to consider. So as you might see this picture for other occasion, this one specially developed for the construction industry. So basically you have the client needs, and you have all the way is going back, and so this is how the project was documented. And there is an issue with the project documentation. Actually, at my company, we're trying to solve more sophisticated and more easy way. So a few words about what's happening about real estate and construction digitalization in Russia. So first of all, we have a government program. It's ongoing government program made by, it has all the decrees of president and our government to convert construction into the digital construction, with the main focus of implementing BIM, this technology of building information modeling. This is in few words, is a technology, is an approach to design when you start from the scratch, from the concept, and you have the 3D model, and you filling with all the information all the way on the of the building cycle, of the life cycle of the building, starting from the construction phase, planning phase, construction phase, maintenance, and etc. So another thing, so Russian PropTech maps, you can also find a lot of startups, a lot of fresh companies trying to change the things, how they're happening at the moment. So this is some results of the survey which we conducted among the companies working professionally in the real estate and construction. So we ask them, what are the processes in your company which you might finding challenging and requires a focus to implementation of the digital solutions? So among the top 3 is obtaining initial permits, construction and installation management, project management. So you see, it's all the problems are mostly focused in the management field. So we're going further and we ask, do you believe that the digital transformation for your company is a priority? So relatively high level, 20% of the respondents give us an answer yes. But only 50% of them consider at the moment their companies are innovative. We call them, let's moderately innovative. So we use new technologies and innovation after they become popular and prove themselves. So another question, are you considering digital solution effective? So only 4%, it's a very small number, say this is, yeah, we implemented something and it really gave us some increment in our productivity and make our lives easier. And next slide, you can see what are the problems of such. Yeah, I could repeat previous colleagues from Strabag. It's a lack of qualification of the steps. It's a lack of digitalization of the supplier. If you can digitalize yourself, it doesn't mean that your partner, your supplier will be digitalized. And of course, the high cost of the technology implementation. So, and what are the solutions the people, the respondents counted as most promising? It's a BEAM, number 1, the big data, drones, cloud solution for real-time collaboration, and Internet of Things. Now I would like to show you some cases of how modern technology applied in the construction processes. So as I mentioned, some of them will be really outstanding and how to say, it's more like in the scientific world, but it's already on, it already exists. So first technology, blockchain and DLT technology. So what is a blockchain? We're talking about the smart contracts. As you can assume, when you're doing the real estate development, real estate construction, you have a lot of contrapartners with whom you need to sign the contracts specified with the money, scopes, and timelines. So smart contracts could do it automatically. So it's kind of computer code. You could put all the conditions, and if case, like let's say the crane arrived on the construction site, so that the supplier gets the money immediately. It's done automatically. But nevertheless, we have asked how many of you know about blockchain and smart contract within the industry. But it's a good sign that at least 53% of the respondents at least heard this terminology. So what's happening in Zurich? In Zurich, we created the first, this is a building you can see on the screen. So the name of this building is No One S1. And this is a building this is the first house in the world which doesn't belong to anyone. So basically it's running, and all the property management, all the management is transferred to the blockchain smart contract, and the building itself decides, is it need to repair, whom to invite as a tenant. It's really fantastic. It's just created this year. You can see this sample. So another thing, another technology which is very interesting, and I would say it's a biomimetic architecture and design computation. So we use a lot of computer to help us to design buildings, but normally it's, you know, what we build usually the square forms which not existing in nature. But this University of Stuttgart, we took as a sample the sea animal, and we see how structure being constructed. So we extrapolated to the larger building, and we created At one, with 12 cubic meters bleach plywood, we created 125 square meters of this of a building without any pillar, without any concrete being used. So fully in the computer, within using the help of the robotics and etc. So another thing is you can see this is the photos of the lab at the University of Zurich. They're using robots to create real new structures which will be resurface the way how the construction will be ongoing in the next decade. So, and the last but not least importance, as I already emphasized in the previous slides, that collaboration, communication, and task management is a very important thing on the construction side. So why do you think it's a big problem, and how big it is? If we say this is a problem, it is big enough. Only in the United States, the cost of rework is 65 billion per year, and it's in counting like 35% of the daily time the construction manager spends of, we call them non-optimal activities. So we're looking for the project documentation for data, we're resolving some conflicts, and we're dealing with the mistakes and reworks. So what could change this? This is our solution, and we, as you know, the startup, we have always do some kind of improvements and develop our product. And what's been recently developed and makes a real big change, we brought BIM to the site, to the construction site. So now you can upload a 3D model into your tablet, into your smartphone, and you can go and walk on the building site, and you can track all the changes by just clicking and tapping on your iPad. And it's super easy, super convenient, and it brings enormous efficiency increase. So you just go on the site, you just see that something goes wrong, you make a picture of it. So you pin it to the plan, you put some additional information, you make some photos, and you have a information exchange in one chat. So this one solution replaces WhatsApp groups, Excel files, emails exchange, and etc., which are being used right now in the industry. So what's next? What will this new technology requires to be implemented? From my perspective, we need to find some kind of real implication in the business processes apart from the maybe theoretical one. So we need to gain trust from the industry, so the people, even starting from the work and the foremen and the management, start to look at these solutions as really helpful ones. And the third thing is that has to be done via legal. You know, the construction is super regulated industry. You cannot do anything according, not according to the normative documents. So, and this information technologies has to be embedded in these requirements. So back to my question from the start of the presentation. So how fast we've been increasing over the last 50 years. Look, this is the Empire State Building. So it was the largest, the tallest building in the world. Look, it's been constructed almost within 1 year. Can you imagine? 381 meters with enormous amount of stories and 350 workers on site. Those people were able to make it in 1 year. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and looking forward for our Q&A session or some other ideas. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Vitaly. Thank you very much. It was a very comprehensive and holistic presentation. It was very nice to listen to it. And I would like to announce our last final speaker for today. This will be Vyacheslav Shitov. Vyacheslav is the Chief Technical Officer of the management company City, which controls all the exploitation aspects of the Empire Tower in Moscow City, in Moscow International Business Center. Vyacheslav will recount the projects Moscow City has implemented on its territory and the smart solutions the company introduces in its work. So please, Vyacheslav, you can begin.
Dear colleagues, I'm representing City Management Company. So the main subject of my presentation is the organization of convenient public spaces, taking Moscow City Business Center as the example, and smart solution in the operations of a business center. I will talk more about some practical solutions that we as a management company implemented in the business center. So what is the territory of Moscow City? This is the hub of business life in the country. So it has nothing similar. We have nothing similar in Russia. And this is the youngest business center in Europe for the moment, which considered all the aspects of the future area. So in terms of the figures, city is 60 hectares of land, huge traffic, around 200,000 people per day, and more than 30,000 cars entering and leaving the territory. So to make comfortable conditions for this huge traffic in this concrete jungle, we as management company implemented and are implementing the following projects. One of the interesting projects is called City Square. There is the adjacent territory of a concert hall, and our management company organized some public events there, including cinema, concerts, presentations of some scientific and research, some documentaries. We also organized dancing classes. So we hosted all these events in an open air, which is favorable for the eco environments of the business centers that are nearby. The next project was implemented by us was the improvement of the territory in between two towers. Previously, this territory was just black asphalt, and it was used only for parking. But now this territory is multi-purpose. The improvement project was finalized, and we organized some recreation zones. We increased the number of green areas and installed parking lots for bicycles and for cars. We planted some bushes and trees. So if we now look at the whole territory of the business center, we'll see that it's like a land plot where a person just works. Our objective, however, is to attract more and more people who could not only come to the business center to work and leave after 6 or 7 p.m., but we want those people to stay there after work, to have some dinner, to come there on vacations together with their families, to have a walk, to have some rest and to see everything that the business center can offer. The next project is smoking pavilions. We all understand that an office building every day hosts a lot of people. So it's obvious that these people smoke, go out to smoke. Then on the territory of the business center, we had to solve the issue with this spontaneous smoking zones. And we had to separate the flows of smoking and non-smoking people. Thus, we designed and equipped special smoking zones. And as a result, we do not have any smoking people at the entrances. The next projects are info points, information points. The business center territory is equipped with entry points, with security points, which of course did not comply with the whole development strategy of the business center. And as city is a very densely populated area of Moscow, we had to solve the navigation problem. So we constructed the so-called info points that are located on the main entries to the territory. And considering how those info points could be used, we placed some navigation, we placed some maps with the indication of major facilities. And also parking cashier points. So inside this information points, we placed also security. The number of people and cars is huge, and they all have to somehow move around the territory effectively, not wasting their time searching for a certain facility. Therefore, one of our main projects was the navigation project. We designed several navigation points for pedestrians and for cars, and we also installed pedestrian navigation, which are located throughout the whole territory and really help people navigate. If we speak about eco-friendly projects, one of them was the Green City project. It's being implemented right now. It's not finalized, and its objective is to provide residents and guests of the territory with storage points, with charging points for alternative vehicles, including the equipment of electric scooters, electric bikes. So we also support the trend of electric cars. Moving on to the second question, how digital technology is used in our business center in Imperia Tower. So our building, of course, is very high-tech with a lot of engineering systems, very much automated. Any management company cannot work without a client. And for the convenience of our clients, we developed and we are implementing the product that helps us communicate with our clients 24/7. This is, first of all, a personal account of any visitor of our tower. So we can assess the needs of our clients and develop this application, which allows all residents of our center, whether you rent some property, whether you are the owner or whether you are just a guest. So this service allows you to order a pass, to send a request for cleaning services or order water, or to issue some ticket. The main objectives of the application are communications with the management company 24/7, to request passes, to pay for utility services, to transfer the meters, indicators, hot, cold, water, etc. Some additional services and also communication with residents. So each user of this application has its own rights and its own functionality, while the controllers can supervise all the tickets and requests. They can draft reports, control whether a ticket is an urgent one or it's an ordinary one. They can also track the history the life cycle of requests, since it was from the moment of its initiation to the resolution stage. And an engineer on duty also has his own interface. We as management company are controlling the requests. We can draft a report. So inside each request, a client has a chance to communicate on a certain problem with the engineer himself, with the engineering services, and with the client manager. So I had quite a brief presentation. Just to sum up, digital systems and technologies are a very positive trend, and it's reflected both in the work of our management company in managing real estate and territory. So without optimizing the business processes, the implementation of digital technology without interaction with the client, you will not have the loyalty of your clients. So digital is our future, and it increases also the loyalty of clients. It increases the competitiveness of your company. So thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Vyacheslav. It was a really broad immersion into the operational aspects of the Moscow City Management Company. And now we don't have too much time left, so I would like to pass to the final stage of our conference, of our roundtable. This is the Q&A session. And probably I would just have a couple short questions to some of our participants today. Well, I guess the first one would be to Mr. Karsten Richter. From Lev Kozakov, how do you see a big future of European construction companies in Russia and vice versa? Please broaden on how, for example, there is a Russian Monarch company which is constructing the biggest skyscraper in Berlin on Alexanderplatz. Please, Mr. Karsten, how would you comment on that?
The first question: how do I see European construction companies here in Russia, the chances, the perspectives? First of all, I must say we are the only European construction company left here in Russia. We are here for 30 years, and we have seen many other of our competitors coming here, but they have all gone back for their reasons. So we have maintained our basis here. I'm not saying that our business is very good here at this point of time. We all know that we had the very good times in the early stage in the 90s and then in the beginning of the century, but since then it's quite difficult. So the competition, and we do see that the Russian construction companies, they have really now picked up. They are very competitive in all means. That they are quality-wise, time-wise, and cost-wise, and even in technologies, they are very good. Having a bit different approach, a bit more in the working and still operating in the old sort of form. When we talk about new form, I talk about digitalization, etc. But anyway, at this traditional method, they are very competitive to us, so that is giving us a bit of a problem. But I think you have understood that we are, as a company, we do see now this digitalization is going to change from our point of view. We are going to have a bigger chance, better chance, competitive-wise, because digitalization, we are in a front runner. We are pushing, and so we do see here in Russia exactly that our competitiveness will increase. We have heard in this audience, in this conference this morning, the future demands of our clients, the interconnection of clients, people, all parties involved, and we do see that this is going to give us a push to increase and our development here in Russia. We do believe it is a big market. It is underdeveloped in terms of construction. So we are going to maintain here, we are going to remain here, and we are looking forward to meet up with clients following our principles, which are the European principles in terms of ethic and but also of technology. So we are very open and hope to meet one or the other participants here today in the future here. So we do see, yes, and I'm also sure that other European companies would not come under the global circumstances which we are having right now, I can't see them coming here in the next 5 to 10 years. So on the other side, Russian companies working in Europe, they are already there. They are increasing their activities there. They are competitive in the old format of construction. Yeah, we are talking about labor. That is what they have. They have cost advantage in terms of the labor cost. That is what they have. But that is not our. That is for us. That is okay. It is understood, but that is not going to last long. It is for a short while they are competitive, but in the long run they are not. So, and that means yes, they take the chance now, but that is not going to last long. They have to first of all improve their skills in terms of digitalization, etc. here in Russia, and then they can transfer their technologies into Europe. So that is my point of view. When we talk about Western Europe and we talk about Eastern Europe, Eastern Europe is a bit different. Even for us, we have the biggest, the highest level of digitalization already understood and practiced in Germany, I would say, and in Austria, Switzerland. Yeah, so East Europe is between Western Europe and Russia in terms of level of transformation to digitalization. Yeah, and what did you ask me about? The second question was?
Yeah, the second question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about this Monarch company, the Russian company building the Alexanderplatz skyscraper in Berlin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty much broad explanation. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Just in a couple of words, I would like to address to Anders Liljenstolpe. Some of our audience's members are really worried about the future of retail format of real estate. And they wanted to ask if there is a huge risk of switching to online retail instead of shopping malls and street retail.
Well, I think it's a very good question. I think, as I tried to explain before, I believe that the street retail and shopping centers will not disappear, though the format will change and dramatically. And to be honest, I mean, what we've seen is that classic retailers like H&M and Inditex, I mean, Zara, etc., they are going through this change right now, which means that they will cut the amount of stores in the hundreds, even in the thousands. But it doesn't mean they will stop, but they will change their footprint, where they are and how they work, because I do not believe that the need that we have as clients and customers have many stores. We need, as Apple is doing it already, we need to have a place where we can test things and look at things. But in the end, the improvement in supply chain will mean that it will be much more comfortable to be able to order it online. And to follow that up, of course, we see also new companies coming to support this trend, such in Russia as Wildberries, Ozon, La Moda, etc., which gives another dimension to this whole sphere of retailing, which is very important. And if you look at the American market, and which we will see very soon, where Amazon is dominating very big, and pretty much only a few other companies are actually following, which is one of them is Walmart, which have put a lot of investments into the e-commerce. But the short answer is yes, we will see a change on the footprint of classical retailer stores, and the use of them will also change, but will it disappear? Absolutely. The change may easier to the clients, the other way around.
Okay, thank you. The position is pretty much clear. Thank you very much. Just to finalize the Q&A session, I would probably address the last question to Vitaly Berezka. Please, Vitaly, could you just give an example of couple projects implemented with the help of PlanRadar software in Russia or somewhere in Eastern Europe?
Yes, thank you for the question. So we in terms of in Russia we have our main customer is company Pridex. We do, I think, the major company for the fit out. This is the special terminology when you do the fit out, and so we're doing office for Sberbank, for Transneft, for all Gazprom, so all the like major state-owned corporations, and they use, that means that we have very high sophisticated, so we buy shell and core. That means you only get the concrete slabs and windows, and after you need to do the full inside interior with all the communication lines, security, carpets, furniture, and so it's an enormous amount of to-dos, small to-dos, not like, yes, a heavy construction when you using the cranes, but and our software is being used for so-called snagging, and so the company is super happy, and they had like 1 year. I would say this company, the Pridex, is one of the. I think we have young management, and they like really absorbing all the new things which we see on the market. We really wanted to try and to see this is the future of the way how the work should be done, and they are our clients and being used very successful on the project of the main project of office interior designs of like when it comes like the large construction. And in Europe you can see the pretty much so the keynote projects are maybe this was the project in Vienna. In Vienna, the Wiener Linien is like an underground operator being reconstructed. The U4, it's one half of the Green Line, and they always was under the time pressure because people want to use the metro line and not to wait until the construction is finished. So they have to be. This was also one good successful story. The PlanRadar was used, and it saved a lot of time for the documentation, for the communication, and for the reporting. And it's yeah, this was the one of the projects.
Okay, thank you very much. Just we don't have too much time left, so probably I have to conclude. And probably I would like to want to say that today our speakers have vividly shown the innovations. They are steadily being integrated into the spheres of real estate and different dimensions of it. But to put it simple, I would just say that all of us are now witnessing the greatest gradient procedure of how complex technologies form a qualitatively new human environment, which surrounds all of us. So I would like to again sincerely thank everyone for the participation in today's roundtable. Dear audience, honored speakers, representatives of the expert communities, please keep in touch with us via social network platforms. Take care, and we'll be waiting for each and every one of you at our future events. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.